Let's take a deep dive into a couple of blockchains today. One, of course, is going to be Polygon, and get into a real understanding of how this could affect growth in the future. Don't miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Coinbase. If you're looking to get started in your crypto journey, maybe this is the first time that you've started to really understand what's going on with crypto. We've got an election happening, could see a market move, and you're saying, now's the time to do it. Well, sign up on Coinbase. All you have to do is visit Coinbase.com. Future of money is here. This is the most trusted place for people to go out and buy, sell, and use crypto. And of course, use our link down below. You're going to get $200 in crypto to get started. So that's the first thing to do to get going. I want to jump over to a little bit of news. Of course, the prediction markets are all the rage right now. Robinhood, of course, has partnered in on introducing their presidential election market. The company they're using is Interactive Brokers. You can kind of see the interface right here. Not necessarily a lot of activity on it. You can kind of see a little bit about what's happening in terms of the market in general. I do want to go to a clip because it's talking a little bit more about this move, and I want to comment on this after. Take a look.
Like, he's beating most of the apps on the App Store.
Really?
Tell us what's happening. How many people have you onboarded?
We are now number one on the finance app store. We just overtook Cash App, which has had the spot for I don't know how many years now. And on the global app store, I think we are just about to reach number 10. So we just overtook Facebook, Uber, Spotify, and a few other apps. I think we're gunning for number one for the entire app store by election days. You know, you announced there's more competitors coming up, which is a good thing.
Which I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
What the implication of that's going to be for you?
No, I think that's great. I mean, I think it's a bit like, you know, crypto 10 years ago. You started seeing a lot of operators, some good ones, some bad ones. And I think we need to differentiate between the unregulated players where you don't know who's trading and who's betting versus places like Kalshi, which is Americans only, fully transparent reporting.
What's the difference between betting on Robinhood, for example, using the Interactive Brokers derivative contract versus betting on your exchange?
We have way more contracts. We have much more liquidity. So on there, you can take maybe $10,000. On Kalshi, you can take millions easily without moving the price.
And if you look at a little bit here in terms of the liquidity, it's about 86 million. Now, granted, that's a lot, but it's not really a lot when you look at the size of Polymarket. Polymarket, of course, holding liquidity right now of in the billions, 2.5 billion right there in the liquidity. So I think the key here is that Polymarket is clearly the winner. Now, will Kalshi be, you know, in the game? Sure, yeah, we could have that, but I think Polymarket is the one to select. Now, you think if Robinhood was able to do this, why wouldn't we see someone like a Coinbase or others start to go in this direction? And what would be used if Coinbase was doing it? I can't imagine they would not use Polygon or Polymarket. The potential of users also, I think, is dwarfed a little bit. This is just the better data right here. This is the prediction market users. Let me kind of zoom in on that. And it's about 30,000. So imagine what the size of this is when you look at the app, you look at all the different solutions and people that are using this, media companies, et cetera, and then people in general, like ourselves, that are out there really talking about this. So I think this is significantly larger in terms of the exposure that it's getting going forward. Here's an article that kind of breaks it down. Polymarket is a success for Polygon everywhere but the bottom line, and there's some reasons for this within this right now. Polymarket has only brought in about 27,000 in fees on Polygon's proof of stake blockchain. One, to look on the bright side, paying only 20K in transaction fees, frankly, just reflects how cheap it is to use Polygon proof of stake. Sure, this is Boyron, this is their president talking about that. But the attention is the value add, and that's what I think draws in the opportunity here, because the attention that is being highlighted on Polymarket does show well for Polygon. Just imagine how this all plays into something positive. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is working out on the charts that way. We'll take a look at that in a second. To kind of compare, now Kalshi, yes, they've got certain subsectors, they might be number one, but when it comes to true free apps right now, Polymarket by far the number one app out there, including overall of the media outlets, including New York Times, CNN. I was surprised that Ground News was on there. That was very interesting. I want to go to another clip real quick, because this clip will get into the CEO of Kalshi also talking about where is this direction going after the election. Take a look.
What do you do after the election with this platform that you've created?
So I think we always think that these markets, these prediction markets, or any markets, they're marketplace. They need a critical mass. Once you hit that critical mass, they kind of work because people share them, the press talks about them, everybody uses them for, will Eric Adams, we have that market, be ousted as mayor of New York? Will TikTok get banned next year? Will the Boeing CEO get fired? You become to use them as a source of truth for anything. And I think the election is sort of this holy grail event that gets you that critical mass.
Do you think this is going to change everything? You think all of a sudden now, here's a real question. Do you think that we are going to start using whether Mayor Adams is going to lose his job or whether TikTok, as you said, is going to be kicked out of the U.S., and whatever that stat is, that we will be talking about that stat oftentimes at this table in the future?
Why not, right? I mean, this is the whole part of the mission, is like, now when you're asking a question of, will TikTok get banned, who are we relying on to get that answer?
For interest rates, that makes sense because the Federal Reserve, the FOMC, wants the market to not be shocked. So they are kind of engaging. If the market's not reading it the way they want, they may come out and start talking ahead of time to try and convince the market. So it's a slow and gradual thing.
So it's an interesting point, and I think it's one that the Kalshi CEO made, and that is that this becomes kind of the source of truth. Now, it's not that Kalshi would. I think that in general, Polymarket probably wins this, but there will be multiple markets out there that this is going to be available. But I do think he is right, that you're going to see, instead of polls, I think if anybody has to be worried, it's all the pollsters. I think those are done. And especially if the data and the truth starts to continue to prove out on where these betting markets are going, because they're always right. That's the point of a betting market. Eventually, it boils down to the always right scenario, but it gets there much faster and quicker in terms of giving us the information. So one thing he said there was that it is a marketplace of data. And that's a very interesting point, because when you look at data and how interoperability is a key thing within the blockchain, you got to go in and look at what's happening here. This is Entangle, their eBridge now supporting Polygon. And within that, I want to show a little bit of a clip here that we'll get into more detail, but this will go into how universal data is coming into this and what it might mean. Take a look.
But yeah, so look, UDF is universal data feeds. As I mentioned before, everything is a packet of data, right? So we are not only focusing on the connectivity between every single blockchain, whether it's TON, Tron, Move chains, Aptos, Sui, Solana, EVM, zk, rollups, etc. But we're also focusing on off-chain. So I think, for example, predictions markets, they're relying on data from external Web2 sources. For example, when the election kicks off, when the winnings are paid, it's paid based on data that's extracted from a news source or different sources off-chain. So for us, universal data is all-encompassing. It's not only just on-chain, it's off-chain, and that can be delivered directly to smart contracts on any chain. So it's interoperable across all blockchains and all external data sources. The first iteration of UDF, it's very visible, it's there. We're going to keep iterating, add custom data feeds, so if you want different types of data feeds, and it's also very customizable.
This is just a quick overview of what they're doing. Native dApp powered by Entangle's infrastructure. You can kind of see all the layers in there, obviously Polygon in there, but there's many that could get into gambling, GameFi, derivative protocols, a lot of different scenarios that the blockchain is going to be able to provide this. Now, granted, how does this play out, especially if you start to apply AI mechanisms within this? We could start to see a new quality level of data coming from blockchains, all being pretty much diversified in the sense of, especially if you look at what Polymarket has been able to do so far, and they are leaning in on a lot of these Web2 sources. So I think that's where we've got a big opportunity here for, just kind of the flexibility of what this might bring. I want to go over to another thing. Here's the roadmap, L2 rollups also out into Q2 25. So it's going to be accelerating pretty quickly. I imagine AI, and of course you can kind of see the Liquidity pin and AI right there, out on the outer portion of their roadmap. So a lot of opportunity here for sure. All right, taking a look at DeFi Llama. This is just in Polygon in general and looking at the total value locked in, but it looks as though Polymarket itself is going to flip Aave. So this will be quite a move overall. Now, how does this translate to Matic and Polygon as a whole? I shouldn't say Matic, I should just say Pol within that. All right, so let's break down DeFi Llama. So we've got stablecoins sitting in here on the blue line, green line coming in on price, and then this lower section right there, volume. Let's zoom in on that because I want to show you something quickly over here so you can see kind of where this is going. So volume is rising right here, but price isn't moving, see? Right there. But if you go back here into early 2024, price started skyrocketing right there as volume did as well. So are we in this phase right here where volume is starting to click up? That is the question mark. And remember, stablecoin, of course, is exploding right here. So the only thing really missing right now is price accommodation for Paul as a whole. If you look at cross-chain, Polygon is holding an 82% share of this. So that's about 13 million accounts. So yes, there are some movements with Base and all of that, but right now, Polygon's still the number one. All right, one other thing I want to take a look at is real-world consumer tokenized assets, and that would be under something called Courtyard. We've showed this before on the show, and if you look at the growth of Courtyard right here, and remember, tokenized assets for a consumer are mostly, they could be trading cards, other assets that'll eventually get into it, sports cards, all sorts of things, collectibles, etc., that will play into this. And of course, Courtyard has been one that has been very successful in terms of growth. Pokemon cards is what they kind of showcase on it. See the growth right there. And understand that this, even though it is Pokemon, but the point is there's a lot of others that are out there that potentially will be growing almost as quick, if not quicker. So there's a big opportunity here when it comes to tokenized assets for consumers in this kind of scenario. Of course, Courtyard playing a big role in that. Here's a good example right here on Magic Eden. There's Courtyard number 2, Trump digital trading cards number 3. All of this, and again, remember that Trump's cards on Polygon, that makes it very interesting for, could this be the number one token that is recognized by the future president, if that in fact is going to occur. Good example of that would be, well, there is Polygon Undervalued, because you got Ryan Selkos right there, and who is that? Oh, that might be the Polygon team. Trump's very transactional. He understands it this way, so could it be one of the key tokens and one of the key projects out there that benefits from a Trump win? Another thing that's happening right here is the Ag Layer Summit, and this, of course, is called the Aggregation Summit, happening in November. A lot going to be going on there, so we could see some big announcements coming from this event, much like what we do on all of these events. So timing could be perfect for Paul, the token, especially as its price is continuing to be suppressed here. So definitely something to watch. So here's the Ag Layer ecosystem. Notice one thing right there, Wilder World right there in the center. You're going to see, we could see an announcement. And of course, here's Frank talking a little bit right here. Get ready. Could be something big happening at the Ag Layer. So we'll take a look. All right, I got one clip here. This is Robbie from Immutable, and he's talking about, could gaming finally come of age for Polygon? Take a look.
Since we launched Immutable zkEVM in beta in March of this year, we've had more than 2.5 million monthly active on-chain users in the first 3 months, and we just ticked over 3 million signups to Immutable Passport. And the games that have launched and driven these numbers are fewer than 10% of the numbers signed onto the platform today. Everything had to go through a slow process of manual approval. As of today, the floodgates are open. Anyone can deploy smart contracts, DeFi, collectibles, gaming projects on the chain. There are now 440 signed onto the platform. Last year, we signed 140 games. It was our record year. This year, we've signed more than 220 already, and we're still going. And it includes leading companies like Netmarble, South Korea's largest mobile gaming company by revenue, who's integrating this into several of their live and incredibly successful properties. And we're not stopping until 3.3 billion monthly active players can experience true ownership.
One other note to make here is that Ronin, the Ronin network, also on Polygon. And remember, this was one of the biggest ones out there. So I think the Ronin, zkEVM, and Polygon, this only reiterates the potential here for sure. All right, back to the Ag Layer ecosystem. I want to focus in on Fabric right there. So this is another one that potentially could be dropping some big news over at the event. I want to go to another clip. This could give us some insights. Take a look.
The most advanced cryptography machine on Earth. So we're not just making a chip, we're making a whole server that's going to go in data centers all around the world, and it's scalable to mass production. We plan to, scale to thousands of machines that we're going to be shipping starting later this year.
All right, so remember that clip a little bit a while ago, all of that he was talking about now happening right now, end of year is now. So you look at the potential here of where else does it benefit. ETH is always questioned, does ETH really benefit from this? When you take a look at the value locked, you can kind of see the growth right here. These are all L2s. This, of course, means a demand for ETH. And of course, I think that only gives you an example of where it's all coming from. Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, Mantle even. So this is only going to continue to grow. I think this is where what we will see, if ETH does get a breakout, these are going to be some of the benefits, I think, especially around the total value locked. If you look at Solana, here's just showing transactions somewhat stagnated right now. And you can kind of see a little bit, let me kind of zoom in on this for you guys. Right there is July through September. So a little bit stagnated. Obviously, we did see that. However, the difference here is price. Price on Solana has continued to rise. That means there's demand. Now, at some point, transactions will become a role player within this. Does Solana start to fade out around 200 bucks? We don't know. We'll see how all this comes together. When you take a look at the activity, this of course is daily average transactions. Again, the layer 2s just continue to climb. So this in itself also represents maybe Polygon is undervalued here. But the real question is it at its bottom? Could we end up getting a better price on this? That's the question I think everybody's asking going forward. I want to go to another clip here, and this will get into the type of things that you're going to want to do in the future as a business. Now, this could be all kinds of businesses when it comes to building on a blockchain. Take a look.
Again, it's called Solana. It does exist. We are using.
Would Base have been built on Solana?
What do you think? Base is just it's literally a fork of Optimism. It's the same shit. It's not an application at all.
What L2s are forms of applications?
No, they're not.
If I'm Coinbase and I want a way to bring users on chain, which as I understand is the fundamental goal of Base, what am I going to do? Am I going to build my own chain, build an L2 on Ethereum, or go deploy an app on Solana? I'm going to either build a chain or build an L2.
I think she kind of hit it right there, is most businesses are going to look like that. And I would agree with that to a certain extent, is that if you're a business and you're out there, you're either going to build on a chain that is yours, that's talking about the L1s within the Avalanche ecosystem, subnets, or you're going to go in and build on a layer 2, which is exactly what Base did. So, and I think that's going to be the case going forward. Now, what does that mean for crypto in general? It's still very early, so I think a lot of companies are going to be trying to figure those things out. So there's going to be a lot of projects that will continue to explode over the next few years. The question is, which ones? So we're going to be on the lookout for all that good stuff. If you guys are not in the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in right now. It's a great place to get additional content. In fact, we drop additional videos specifically over there to our Diamond Circle. Comes out to you guys. You can catch it in the community. We don't put them here on the YouTube. So do that. Just use our link down below. Catch me out there on X @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.